Well, hello, everybody. This is Nicole Whitlock with the eCom Seller Summit. And tonight we are doing our final panel. Our panel is on product research. So we have an awesome group with us tonight. We have Miss Megala with India Sourcing. And if you guys didn't check out, she actually hosted the summit too. So definitely go check out her stuff because she's got a lot of great information. And then we have John, who joined us last night for the session that we had on business success strategies and also on operations. So I'm glad that you're all here. We may or may not have another panelist that will join us in the middle of this. So his name will be Justin, and he's with Data Spark. So he may or may not show up. It is what it is sometimes. So with that being said, let's just talk about how this is going to work. What we want you guys to do is we want you to type your questions in the comments section. I think we're live in the Facebook group. We're also live on the fan page and my own personal page. So whatever questions you have around product sourcing in general, please, by all means, please type your questions. Let us know what your questions are. We are here to help you. We are here to answer them. We're here to be supportive of you and help you on your journey in 2022. It is all about success in 2022. So don't forget, share this out to your Facebook page or to wherever you want to share it so that we can help people that are looking to get started, but they're not really sure how to source, where to find stuff, all of that stuff. So with that being said, I am going to open up the floor to these two awesome people and let them tell you. We're going to start with our first question. So if you were working with a newbie, we're going to start with newbie, then we're going to talk about experience. So a new seller that's just like jumping into the fray, what is the maybe one or two tips that you would give them around product sourcing so that they can hopefully have some wins within the first 6 to 12 weeks of their e-commerce journey? So go ahead.
Well, I can go first. I think my first tip would be to make sure to find a supplier that is right for your specific needs, because there are so many different types of suppliers out there. There are small companies, big companies, companies that focus on product development, research, R&D, companies that just do OEM, private label. They don't have any of their own designs. So each seller is different in the way that they are developing their brand. So it's important to find a supplier that's right for you. If you're a newbie and you're just starting out with maybe a very limited budget, you don't want to source from a very large company that only accepts container loads of orders, because you're going to be a very, very small buyer for them. They're not going to care about your 100-piece order. So you'd better work with a mid-sized company that is willing to grow with you, that is they don't have a very large setup, they don't have very large capacity, and they don't work with bigger retailers and bigger brands. So try to find a company that is right for you in terms of size. Also in terms of market, if you're importing into the US, for example, you should look for a company that is experienced in exporting to the US market, so that they're aware of the standards, the requirements, the safety requirements, if there are any, or labeling requirements. If you're importing into the EU, it's even more important to make sure that, first of all, you understand all of the requirements because they're just so complicated, or you work with a professional, or you work with a supplier that has exported and has experience in the EU market. Similarly, if you're looking for, let's say, to develop a new product from scratch, you just have an idea and you want a supplier to take that product, to make the product into like reality, or make your idea into reality, then you want to work with somebody who has product development capability, and who understands how to do tech packs, for example, if it's a garment or textile based product. So I think all of these considerations are really important, and you have to choose your supplier very carefully based on your specific requirements. I think that's the first thing that I would advise people.
All right. John, what would you say?
I agree with everything Megala said. Plus, number one, you need to understand what your specs are and what your expectations are. You need to have them in writing, and you need to communicate them to your supplier, because you always want to present to your supplier that you're a professional, not an amateur, because amateurs drive suppliers crazy. and they're going to lose patience with you really quick, and you probably won't get to where you want to be, or they'll just cast you off and just do a half-butt job. That's the one thing. Secondly, when you talk about sourcing something, I don't have the graphic with me right now, but I oftentimes talk about a sourcing continuum. And on the left-hand side, you would have something that they make stock. So a lot of things on Alibaba kind of fall into that category, where you're not really developing anything. You're just taking something they make every day, and you're slapping your name on it, maybe customizing some packaging and bringing in a small quantity. Well, that's one scenario. The other side of the coin, my underwear products are 100% custom. So it's a special run. It's a special run of fabric. It's, to my exact designs, to my exact patterns. So I'm kind of way over on the far side. And, depending on where your product selection falls, there's really a different business process that you have to go through. And then there's a lot of steps in between that. So you've got the far left where you're just basically rebranding a standard. And then on the far right is you have your own product that is yours, period. Mm-hmm. And you really got to understand where you fit in that spectrum, and then you've got to design your process around that.
Okay. All right. Well, the one thing I would say, and I think both of them are great, if you are a person and you're starting off and you have some money to work with, where you are planning on ordering from a supplier, where you're going to make those types of orders, that's great. If you're not really sure, you're just starting off and you have no idea what you're going to do, you may do something that is more simplistic or local. I know a lot of people that maybe have gotten started initially. Maybe they sold used books. So they're going to a supplier locally. Maybe they're checking out their library. When the library allows you to buy books by the bag, they're going to places. So you need to figure out what your model is going to be. If you're going to invest money and you're going to order inventory, then you definitely want to step through Megala and John's approach. But if you don't have a lot of money as your starting point, like maybe you got $50, then you're going to probably go a little more simplistic route of trying to maybe do something like thrifting, retail arbitrage, selling books, or, deciding that you're going to completely, for your products, you're going to do something like print on demand. So you're not even going to do ordering inventory from anybody. You're literally going to use what's available, and you're going to start the model of putting designs on stuff. So you got to figure out what your model is going to be in order for you to get started in this game, and how much money you have to be able to do it.
And that
totally agree. And
it kind of goes a little bit what we talked about last night, Nicole.
Yeah. Go.
Your phase one is all about learning.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a bunch of money in phase one. You'll be lucky to break even in phase one. What your gain in phase one is going to be right here.
Yes.
Your experience, what you learn. What you're talking about with the used books or the retail arbitrage. I got involved with retail arbitrage in my step one. And I knew from day one that wasn't going to be a business. I just really had some curiosity, and I really enjoyed the learning process. So wholeheartedly, if you have a limited budget, and if you're just realize the expectation of I'm in this to learn, you might lose $50. You may lose $100, but that's $100 invested in your experience.
Yep. Go ahead, Megala, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying that what John and I were talking about is mostly private label, or developing your own products, OEM, sourcing. But you're right. I mean, if somebody does not have, because sourcing does require a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of patience, and of course, a lot of investment. So if you're not ready for that, then yeah, definitely, totally agree. Don't do private label right from the beginning. Start with something simple, and that doesn't cost you that much.
Depending on what you got, what's your budget, what's your available time.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we kind of step through the evolution of we got started, and okay, so everybody, if you are paying attention, we want you to type your questions in the chat. So whatever questions you have, you've got Megala, who has a lot of knowledge about sourcing, especially from outside the US. And then you also have John, who also has extensive knowledge about sourcing. So if you got questions, private label or otherwise, you guys have great resources right here. So type your questions in the chat, whatever the questions are. We are here to answer them. I'll be checking all of the different groups so far. Yesterday's video stayed up. Hopefully today's video will stay up. So we lost the first video, Megla. Like when I say they took down
Oh.
everything, this broadcast was deleted by Facebook.
Well, and I was just trying to share the video so that I could share the video so you are live on your page, but I could not post your link, and I couldn't even post the Bitly link. A couple of days ago, I could post the Bitly link, but now it's not allowing me to post that as well. So
Yeah. So
I've shared it in Telegram as well.
there you go. All right. So if you guys go ahead.
I've done about 8 years of sourcing in China, and I've been sourcing in India for the last 4 years. So it's very different. And if anybody has any kind of country specific questions, please feel free. I know Mako's got a tremendous amount of experience, especially in India as well. But go ahead.
All right. So I just want you all to go ahead. Feel free. Type your questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you on your e-commerce journey because this is your year. This is 2022. This is your year. So type your questions in the chat so we can answer them. We are happy to help. So the next thing is there is a difference between sourcing in China and in India. And I know that Megla also has a lot of knowledge and experience in addition to other countries. I think Singapore was another one that you have experience with sourcing from as well. Megla, is that right?
Mostly China and India. Yeah,
okay.
Because I lived and worked in China for almost 10 years. And then I started my career in India. And of course, now I'm focused entirely on India or mostly on India.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you tell people that are looking to source outside of the US? Maybe what are 3 top things that they need to be thinking about if they're sourcing? Like if I'm in the US and I'm sourcing, and then we also have people that are like maybe in Australia or the UK, what are 3 things that that they should be thinking about? Maybe there's a difference between India and China that they need to consider or think about.
So the first thing that they need to think about is what product they're sourcing and where it is available and where can it be competitively sourced. That's the first thing. So there's some products that are not available anywhere else, and China is the only place where you can find good prices and a variety of products. So for example, anything electronics, China is by far the best source for electronics, electrical products. India does not have any sort of consumer electronics that you can source under your own private label or OEM. So that's number one. What product you want to source and where can you source it competitively? India specializes more in specific categories, and garments and textiles is a huge category for India. And John also, he has his own underwear brand, and that's why he's sourcing from India. Then handmade products are huge as well, and there are lots of products that are made from wood, metal, ceramic, glass, all of these natural materials that are very popular among Amazon sellers. And then there's also things like leather. There's eco-friendly materials are coming up very fast as well from India. So that's number one. What product you're sourcing, where is it competitively produced? And then the second thing I would say is just be aware that this takes a lot of time and effort. Product development, product sourcing, it's not something that's going to happen in a month, 2 months, especially when you're starting out. You have to find suppliers, vet suppliers, make sure they're the right fit for you, get the sampling done, then the samples are shipped to you. Then maybe you have to rework the samples. If you're placing significant orders, you might even have to visit your factory. And I know that John visits his factories very regularly. And in fact, he now even has a team in India to manage things for him. So you might have to, go to that extent. You might have to visit the factory. And so that's the other thing. Be patient and know that this is not something that's going to happen overnight, a couple of months. It will take time. It's a long-term process, and you have to plan accordingly, whether you're sourcing from China or India. In fact, in India, things take a bit longer than China, but even in China, if you're developing a new product, it takes a couple of months. And I think the third thing that I would say is, if possible, visit the country that you're sourcing from. If you're sourcing from China, go visit the Canton Fair, the Global Sources Fairs in Hong Kong. Go see the products, meet with the suppliers, and spend some time after the fairs to visit the factories. If you're sourcing from India, come with us on India sourcing trip. We do a guided sourcing tour because India is not so easy to navigate if you travel solo, especially if you're not used to traveling overseas. So come with us. We do a guided tour. There's a trade show in India that is very export focused. There are about 3,000 exhibitors at the trade show that are all exporting to US, Europe. They're very export experienced, and see the products, meet with the suppliers, and that will really help you source very effectively and profitably in the long term. So those would be my top three things.
Okay. All right,
Um,
John, same question.
the one obvious thing is the language. Um,
Yeah.
there's a world of difference between language between India and China. When you go to China, you may find one person in the factory that's fluent in English, and everybody else gets translated from what you say or what you write by that one person. And if they do a good job, it might work. If they don't do such a good job, a lot of problems can happen. And oftentimes, a person that doesn't speak English isn't that experienced. She could be a 20-year-old young person, doesn't really know much about business, but just studied English in school. So in India, English is widely spoken. Megala, can probably even expand on this even more. But when you go to the factory and go on the factory floor, you can have conversations with all levels of the organization in English. And that was probably the one thing that I found was tremendous advantage. They're actually using your native documents in it versus a translated document. And I look at a Chinese translated document, I can't tell if it's right or wrong. So, secondly, in India, they're more likely to do what you ask them to do. In China, they think they're smarter than everybody else, and they're going to do what they want to do, irrespective of what you actually request. So there's a bit of an issue there. I agree with the visit. When you visit a factory, your respect level goes up multiple times. They know you're a serious business person if you're going to take the time to come visit them, and you're showing them respect by taking the time and coming to visit. And it really starts because it's really all about relationships. And what you don't want to do, and you'd like to find a great supplier and stick with them. You'd like to develop a relationship because things get easier and easier and easier. So invest in the relationship. Burning a bridge is never a good idea, especially in India, just because it really expedites the process with a second, the third, and the fourth order. The other thing, and I guess we got to talk about it because it's all in the news, is the political situation. Things could be getting kind of dicey here in the world, and the Taiwan situation, the Ukraine situation, the Europe situation. I just keep your eyes open and assess the risk. That's all I can really say about right now is do your homework and assess the risk.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
Then the other big thing is if you're bringing it in from China, you're probably bringing it into the West Coast of the United States. If you're coming into the United States, and we all know about the problems that are happening on the West Coast in the supply chain, trying to get things through the ports. I mean, they're just idling out in the offshore for 4 or 6 weeks, just trying to unload. And then once they unload, there's a big backlog in terms of the trucking system. Things are much better on the East Coast. They're even better on the Southeast. So keep that in mind as well. If you're bringing it from India, all of my stuff comes into the East Coast. And I've never experienced any of those problems. And to be honest, we're not seeing the outrageous container rates that the Pacific Transit is seeing. I mean, they're still up, but not to the degree.
Okay. That's good to know. That's actually a helpful piece of information. I did not know that. So I learned something new. I love learning stuff. Okay. So I know that Megala has extensive knowledge. Well, both of you have extensive knowledge on sourcing from India. Is there like a website or a catalog that people could start when they're trying to figure out, I want to source from India? I mean, I know that we have what we would define as a semi catalog of stuff that we can source from China. I mean, a significant amount of the stuff that's on Alibaba and AliExpress. There's a lot, and then you can do some additional searches and find some of the catalogs that they have available of suppliers and what they sell. Is there a catalog that we could search for India suppliers?
You see it right here. Where is it? Here. Indiasourcing.net. That's what that's the reason we started this website, because we didn't find any platform out there focused on India. Alibaba is present in India. They do have suppliers from India on the website, but of course they're very China focused. There are a lot of other websites in India, such as there's one very popular one called India Mart. But a lot of suppliers there are domestic focused. There are manufacturers and there are exporters as well, but then you have to sift through the list very carefully. And there are a lot of companies that are traders. They're actually importing products from China or other countries and distributing in the domestic market. And so you want to avoid those kinds of people when you're sourcing. You want to find the real factories and go to the source. So we couldn't find a reliable source. And so we started our own website. And what we do is we have a team in India. We find suppliers, we vet them to make sure that they are manufacturers, they have their own facilities, and that they are exporters. It's really important to source from exporters when you're buying products from India, because domestic focused companies, first of all, will not be good at communication, and they will not be aware of requirements in overseas markets, and sometimes they don't even have licenses. So if you want to export from India, you need an export license. It's easy to get, but the domestic focused companies, they might not even know that, and then it gets really tricky. There have been a couple of people who've come to me over the last few years, and they bought a product from a company on India Mart, and then the product is stuck because the company can't ship it out. And they're like, hey, can you help me export this product from India? Like, no, your supplier needs to have an export license. So yeah, you can go to this website, indiasourcing.net, and the platform is basically built to, it's a self-service platform. You can go search for the products that you're looking for, contact any of the suppliers there, and you can also reach us if you're not able to find a supplier. We also have sourcing agents that can help you if you're not able to find a supplier on the website, or if you want some assistance in sourcing. Then we've also vetted a number of service providers, and the platform is meant to provide importers, Amazon sellers, everything they need to source products from India. So we've got suppliers, that's one piece of it. Then we've got all types of service providers that you might need, such as freight forwarders, quality control inspection companies, lawyer, packaging company, even photographer that is focused on Amazon and they're based in India. So we've got the whole, the whole package, so to speak, of sourcing from India, from suppliers to all types of sourcing agencies. And then we also do education, because it's very difficult. There's not much information available about sourcing from India out there. Everyone's really focused on sourcing from China. So we do workshops, we have a mastermind. So it's all about teaching people how to source effectively. And then, of course, we do the trip as well to India twice a year. So, yeah.
And so the trip was on hold for a while.
Yeah.
And
It's
now.
happening.
So when is the trip? When is the trip?
The trip is in October. And John, I have to talk to you about the trip. And Mark and I were discussing this yesterday. But yeah, it's in October. And we are 99.999% sure that it's going to go ahead, unless there's like a cousin of Omicron that pops up in the next couple of months. But otherwise, the world is opening up. And the trade show, in fact, is happening in March. So there are people who are traveling to March, but we're not doing the trip in March because it's still a bit risky. Singapore is in fact pretty closed. In fact, it's not easy to get out of here. But October is definitely happening. Yeah, and you can get more information about the trip on indiasourcingtrip.com. That's the website.
Indiasourcingtrip.com, guys. India
Yeah.
Sourcing Trip. Let me write that in the comments. India.
So, hey, is there a trade show in October too?
Yes. Yeah, the trade show is held twice a year. In the spring, it's usually in April, but sometimes in Feb, sometimes in March. They change the dates, which I don't know why they do that. They shouldn't do that. They should just have one date. But yeah, they changed the date of the spring one. But the autumn one is usually 14th to the 18th. October.
And what's the name of the spring trade show?
It's called the Delhi Fair, or just
Okay.
Delhi Fair.
Okay. because I know a lot of us know about the Canton Fair. So
Yeah,
it's called the Delhi Fair. And then the one that's in the fall, what is it? Same thing?
same thing. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So twice a year, same one.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, guys, if you are looking to find potential suppliers that you want to do business with or you want to see if they're available, go to indiasourcing.net. Now, how many suppliers are on that site?
So currently we have close to 100. So we don't have thousands of suppliers there because we're taking it very slow. We're vetting suppliers and then we're also interviewing them in live webinars in our group, and on our Facebook page and social media. So we're trying to be very transparent. We're even doing live shows from their factories. So the suppliers are in their factories and they're walking around and showing how products are made. So you can actually, see before you source from a supplier, you can see what the facilities are like. So yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. All right. John, is there anything you want to add to
Yeah.
that?
So our specialty is more southern India,
Hmm.
and our specialty is more in the apparel, textile area. So whether it's clothing, whether it's towels, whether it's aprons, whether it's, we're doing all kinds of printed type towels or specialty type aprons and things like that. So yeah, as Miguel can tell you, I mean, where I'm at in India, they don't speak the same language as up in Delhi. It's completely different. They speak English, but the different parts of India are so different. It's just kind of amazing, and I never really understood that until I made a couple of trips over there. So we decided to kind of specialize. Obviously we're an apparel brand, and we had to put some infrastructure in place to support our brand, and then we just kind of expanded to use that infrastructure to help other people. But we're not really interested in trying to be a India-wide sourcing company. We're really about trying to stay within what we do really well, which is in the southern Tamil area of India, which is their center of excellence for the apparel side,
Okay.
or all textiles really.
Okay. That's good to know.
But
All right.
speaking of languages,
Go ahead.
Nicole, can
Uh-huh.
we do a pop quiz? Can we ask people a question and let's see
Yes,
if
go
any.
ahead.
Okay, tell us in the comments how many official languages are there in India? How many
Oh,
official languages? And each language has a different script. So it's not like they're not dialects. These are completely different languages. So tell us in the comments how many official languages there are in India. I know Mark and Kevin, are you watching? You should probably know this.
they probably do. I mean, I will tell you here in the U.S., we sort of make fun of each other across the United States. We all speak English, but again,
Yeah.
depending on where you are, someone may have a little bit of a stronger accent in another part of the U.S. Be like, "Is that English?" Yes, it is. So yes, we do make fun of each other. It's all English. It just sounds different.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
it
but in
might
India,
sound.
it's completely different. So I'm from the north, and if I travel to South India, I cannot understand their language. I cannot read it. It's a totally different script. So that's why English is sort of a language that unites the whole country, because most people will speak English, at least in the main cities. If you go to smaller cities and villages, they'll probably only speak their local language. But yeah, in major cities, most people would speak English.
Wow, I did not know that. I wonder where my team is. I need to figure that out. I need to see
Okay,
somebody.
there we go.
22 official languages in India. Oh my
That is the
gosh.
correct answer. That is the correct answer, Mark. Yes.
All right. So if you all have questions about sourcing products, finding products, anything product related, we want you to type it in the chat because in the comment section, we want to be able to answer your questions and be able to help you on your journey. This is your year, so let's make it your year. Let's get the questions answered. Most of the time you would have to pay for their time, so this is your opportunity to ask questions. You want to spend some time with them, I'm sure there's a consultation fee. Right now you can ask your questions absolutely free and they will answer them. So whatever question you have that's around product sourcing, whether it is sourcing here in the US, whether it is sourcing in a different method of e-commerce, whether it is sourcing internationally, both of them have extensive experience with China. So, ask your questions when it comes to product sourcing, finding products, vetting products, doing product research. Maybe you've got questions about that. Type them in the chat because we're here to help. All right. So
Michael is saying in the comments, I had no idea. That's amazing.
that is amazing. So I do have a question. I don't know if John, that was your first product that you started with was underwear. Megala, what was your first product that you put online? What was the first product you sold?
So my very first product that I put online was actually jewelry, and that was back in, I think, 2005, 2006, and that was on eBay,
Okay.
India. That's where I started. Yeah, so jewelry, costume jewelry, and I'd actually bought it from China. And there are these huge wholesale markets in China. So we used to live in China at that time, and we'd just gone to the market. We bought a bunch of stuff, put it in the suitcase, sent it to India, and then that's how we started selling on eBay. We listed them on eBay. We had a partner there in India, and then they were doing the fulfillment and everything, and we were sending products from here. So yeah, that's what we did initially.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, John, what about you?
Well, actually, my first time was arbitrage. It was we were going through Kohl's, which is a department store here in the United States, and it was they were closing out a whole bunch of those college team flags that you hang up out of your window to show you're a fan of a specific team. And I was able to buy them for like 10 cents on the dollar. So I basically bought everything they had and put it up on Amazon. And like I said, it was really designed as a learning experiment because I'd really never done that before. I always wanted to do it. And probably broke even, but had a lot of fun.
Okay. All
and
right.
underwear was the second thing I did.
Underwear's the second. Okay. Well, my first thing was something that I can't remember who the movie star was. It was either a singer or a movie star, had a pair of glasses or some accessory. And it was all in the magazines. And so I found a knockoff, listed it on eBay, and sold it like crazy. And then the next thing after that was I ran into a guy who was a picker, and he had a big giant warehouse of stuff. And I listed for him, and I would get 60% and he would get 40% when the item sold. He would ship it, but he just needed somebody to do the listing. So I became a lister.
Mm.
And so I sold a bunch of random stuff. All right. So we have a question. We have our first question. So keep the questions coming, guys, whatever your questions are. All right. So what was your budget when you started?
So when I started, I'm going to talk about my private label because jewelry was not private label. It was just buy stuff and just list it. But for private label, when I started that, then my budget was around, I would say 8,000, 7 to 8,000. And that not all of that was inventory. So the inventory was probably like 4,000 or so, four or 5,000. And then the rest was shipping and PPC and all of those things. But overall, it was about 8,000. John?
All right.
Well, unfortunately, when you deal with apparel, you've got lots of colors and you've got lots of sizes, and it's kind of go big or go home. So mine was about 70,000. Actually, starting my own business was kind of a bucket list item. So I stepped out of the corporate world, and I decided to do this full time. And took our nest egg and said, we're either gonna win spectacularly or fail spectacularly.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Well, my budget was way smaller than on both of you because, again, I didn't start with private label at all. I didn't really do anything with my first private label product until about 2 or 3 years ago. But anyway, I just spent $100. I had a budget of $100 a week, and that's exactly what I spent. But I have an amazing friend. I call her Tony. We find stuff that's below wholesale, or we get a lot of free inventory. So it didn't cost me anything pretty much. And I just was able to reinvest and then scale and take that money and just keep reinvesting the money. So that's how I got started. I put aside $100 and I said I was going to make $100 investment every single week. And then I didn't have to spend money for a while. So it was nice. All right. So, do we have any other questions? Do we have any other questions that you guys want to ask? So, what is one mistake that you see that people are making? One mistake that they make when they're sourcing from another country that they're not thinking about, that they don't take into consideration, that they forget about? What is that one mistake?
I think what I have seen is not sourcing from the right supplier. That's the biggest mistake that I see people make. For example, not sourcing from a company that's export experience, not vetting the supplier carefully, not checking their documents to make sure that they have export experience, they have licenses, um, not confirming their expertise, because in India and even in China to some extent, but in India most of the suppliers, they specialize in certain things. They may offer a wide range of products, but usually they specialize in one particular product category. And of course, if it's a larger company, then they might have different, subdivisions within the factory to make different types of products, but usually the specialization is by material. So for example, if a supplier makes wooden products, they have all of the in-house capability to make wooden products, like their machines, and they have skilled artisans that specialize in wood. That's their core expertise, and they'll do really good at wood. But if you ask them to make a metal product, for example, they might still do it because they're opportunistic. They want to get your business. They'll ask their friend to make it for them, or they'll subcontract to another factory. But then they don't have a lot of control on the quality and on the raw materials. And so if things go wrong, then it's more difficult to address issues if it's not done in-house. So try to identify the core expertise of the supplier. And it's not easy because suppliers, unless you're there, unless you have the opportunity to go to the factory and see their facilities, it's not easy to do that online. And that's why we try to bring people to factories and get them to see what's inside the factory. That really tells you what the company really specializes in.
Okay.
I would say make sure that you don't cut corners on inspection.
Hmm. Yeah.
The Unfortunately, when you're dealing with China or you're dealing with India, their manufacturing systems are still heavily inspection related, which is kind of where the U.S. was back in the 60s. The U.S., China, Korea, they kind of developed very sophisticated quality systems. That's not the case in China. It is in some parts of China, but not in probably the people we're going to be dealing with. And it's not the case in India. So I grew up in the automobile industry, and I was part of that, 1960s to 1980s transition. But what we've learned, the sophisticated manufacturing countries have learned you can't inspect quality in. You've got to engineer, you've got to build quality in the product. Unfortunately, a lot of the companies you're going to be dealing with are still based in the, well, I'll put another inspector on the line. I'm going to try to sort out the good from the bad at the end. And so you really don't want to cut corners in the inspection process, because once it gets to your location, you're kind of stuck. And then your costs will just mushroom, either in terms of customer returns or in terms of rework or prep or whatever. Or the worst case scenario, you may just throw up your hands and scrap the whole deal and start over, which is really painful. So again, that's not a place to scrimp. When you do an inspection contract, you're going to have to create an inspection routine, which basically tells them what to look for and what type of quantities. In other words, what percentage are they going to go through? And the more things you ask for, the more things that they got to go through. That translates into man hours or man days. That translates into more cost. It's a company you haven't dealt with before. Be a little conservative on that.
Okay. Well, I know Megla has to step out, so it'll just be me and you, John. Megla, I thank you for hanging out with us, guys. If you have not got an opportunity go check out indiasourcing.net. I'm going to type it in here, indiasourcing.net. You can also type your questions in the comments section because we definitely want to be able to answer those. So indiasourcing.net, check out the site if you're looking to find suppliers maybe that will manufacture, make, develop your specific product. Let's go see who's out there and who's available. And if you have any questions, go join Megala's Facebook group.
Yeah, search for sourcing from India.
There you go. Go join her Facebook group, Sourcing from India, right now. Go join it so that way you have an opportunity to be able to see some of the suppliers that they are vetting as she's talking about those lives that they do in the Facebook group. Because this is your year, so we're just trying to help you on your journey. That's all we're trying to do is bless you on your journey. So let's make it happen for you and your business. So thank you, Mekla. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thanks, John. Nice seeing you again. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye. So I was going to piggyback off of what you said, John, because I have talked with so many different people. They'll order inventory and they'll order it. We'll just go with order from Alibaba and send it directly. Have that person send it directly to their fulfillment center, their prep center, or try to send it directly to Amazon and let Amazon put the stickers on. I'm like, you didn't even look at it. I mean, you don't even know whether or not it's good. You don't even know if it's counterfeit. You don't know anything about it. Like, don't do that.
That is very high risk.
Yeah, it's extremely high risk because you're literally going to lose all that money if they send crap.
Yeah.
If they send crap and yes. Well, Amazon's not going to be happy about it, and then they're going to suspend your account. Blah blah blah. You won't be able to sell. So don't do that. You shouldn't do that. You should definitely always make sure you have a process in place to evaluate what it is that you're buying, and then whether or not it is exactly what you were wanting to get versus if it has issues. And then your supplier should have a way to address those issues.
I'm also a big fan of a contract.
Yes.
I started doing contracts back about 4 or 5 years ago. It's paid off multiple times. They know you're much more serious. You have you have expectations in writing. They're going to give you a higher priority. And, your contract should spell out consequences if they miss their delivery dates.
Yeah.
It should spell out consequences if it fails final inspection. So what do you do? I mean, okay, you've given them your deposit. You go through, you pay your money, you bring in, your inspection company. I use QIMA a lot, whether in India or in China. And it goes in and they find out that it failed. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
You're going to go back to your contract and they're going to help you based on what you had put in your contract.
Your contract needs to give you the ability to walk. Because, if you've got a pile of, what, no matter what you do to it, you still probably got a pile of what.
Yeah. Which is going to be frustrating because then you're going to have to figure out how can I repurpose this inventory for something else.
And then the other thing I would say is don't hesitate to do third-party lab inspections. Like in our product is supposed to have 10% spandex, and I decided one time to go in and have that sent to a third-party lab, and found out it only had 5% spandex. Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah. And I can't advertise to my customers 10% spandex if there's 5%, and the product just doesn't fit. It doesn't function the same. So the supplier had to completely eat the whole order.
Mm. I think that's good, and that definitely if you,
You know what's even worse, Nicole, is they had run it through their lab, and they had certified it to be 10%. But I sent it to a third-party accredited lab, and it came back at 5%. So their lab had actually falsified the results.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen once in China, and I've had it happen once in India.
Okay.
So it's not unique to a specific country or culture.
That's good to know. That is good to know.
Basically, verify, verify, verify. Because at the end of the day, once it's in that container, it's yours.
Yes. The
So,
other thing I see, I know we've been talking about private label a lot, but what I was talking about earlier was drop shipping. I see a lot of people doing a lot of drop shipping,
yeah,
significant drop shipping the same product over and over again. And again, never seeing the product themselves, never touching the product themselves, just sending it directly to their customer. And it end up being crap and they have to deal with a boatload of returns regardless of platform. And, that's just going to affect you long term, bigger picture. So, again, regardless of how you're getting your inventory, however you're acquiring your products, you should still have a process for
mhm,
evaluating and validating whether or not this is a good product or not.
yeah. I just got, I just got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of drop shipping.
I know.
Very thin margins, and you just I see a lot of people get burnt there.
I see a lot of people get burnt too. I think some of it has to do with what you are drop shipping. Like if
Yeah.
you're drop shipping desks and furniture, those are bigger products. Of course, there's a much higher cost that's associated with it. But again, hopefully you're working with suppliers that are vetted fully, like well known. I'll use an example of, furniture. There's a lot of manufacturers for furniture in North Carolina.
Hmm.
And so, there's some quality furniture that you can work out contracts and agreements with those to be able to set up your website and be able to sell products, bigger items, and have a nice profit margin. Just depends on what it is you're selling and what you can look at. Like I can get in the car and drive to North Carolina. Not today because we have ice on the street, but but I can go and check it out and I can make sure that when I'm, drop shipping and make sure I have an agreement and understanding with them that, hey, I'm going to be drop shipping you or whatever. So one thing I did many, many years ago was like a little kid's chair, like a little sofa chair to go in a little kid's room. And again, finding a good supplier to be able to sell that, like the margins were really nice on that particular chair for as long as I sold it. But yeah.
It's something that's oftentimes overlooked is,
What?
is affiliate.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
we have an affiliate program. You can go to our website. You can sign up as an affiliate. You can get your own discount code. You can get your own link. You can go out and recommend an influencer, Facebook, or whatever. No limitations on our product. If we sell the product, you get 15%. You have zero risk. You have
That's true.
zero return risk. You have zero risk. You hardly, you once the sale's made, you just collect the money. Just collect. And in our program, if the customer comes back and buys again, which sometimes they want more than one pair of underwear, you get the commission over and over again.
Yeah.
So you own the customer. So I guess I just use ours as an example, but I think that's an overlooked low
Opportunity.
risk, easy entry way for somebody to get involved. And your downside is almost always, you can almost, it would be hard to lose money on that model.
I'd agree. It is hard to lose money in that one. That's actually a good one.
Reputable company.
Well, you want to make sure your profit margins are sufficient. I know that that's been a bane of several people's existence because over the years, Amazon has definitely toyed with the commission, the affiliate commission that they've offered, depending on different categories, what they've offered. And some people are like, I'm getting out of Amazon affiliate commissions. But yeah, that's one that, you want to see what the affiliate commission, because eBay has an affiliate commission, like all of them have an affiliate commission. So if you don't want to sell physical products, that's another way to get started in the e-commerce space without actually touching anything for real, ever.
But I kind of see affiliate programs of Amazon and eBay very different.
Yes, they are.
When you're dealing with a private company.
Direct, yeah.
Because
if you get with a direct company, that's different.
Ours is more like the dropship, but you just don't have to
touch anything.
You just don't have to do much work. You just collect 15% for hardly doing anything.
Correct. And for those of you that are not making a 15% commit, you're not making a 15% profit margin, there you go. That's an easy and fast way to say, okay, I'd like to have a minimum profit margin of 15%. There you go. You didn't have to make any investment other than your time. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so what questions do you all have? We have at least 5 more minutes to go. So we want to answer your sourcing related questions, your product related questions, your inventory related questions. Even if it's not that, like you have another question that's e-commerce related, it has nothing to do with product sourcing, type it in the chat. We're happy to answer it so that we can help you on your e-commerce journey. We're here for you guys. So type them in. Let us know. We are happy to help. All right, John. So I know, since you sell underwear, what is your busiest, like when do your sales go up? What time of year do you see a spike in your sales? And it, Q4 we know, but what other time?
Well, that's real interesting. Our actually busiest month is June.
June. Okay. Isn't that Father's Day?
Father's Day. And then obviously the Christmas. And then our absolute worst month is September.
Oh.
But see, we sell to an older demographic. Our demographic is 35 to 75.
Okay.
So, I guess when the kids go back to school, dad clothes investment budget goes down. Kid clothes investment goes up.
A lot. A lot. Yeah, they get to eat up all of August and September's budget and maybe October, depending on what.
January can be a little slow as well, but
no,
definitely, it's very easy. I mean, those months are like double and triple the others.
Nice. Okay.
So, and then obviously when we do new product introductions, they can be pretty hot.
Pretty hot. Okay. So I like to do bundles and I like to source my products. I talked about it the other night when we did the private label, white label. And I was like, I like to test my bundles first. And so I will source directly by going out to the store and doing some retail arbitrage to try and figure out what is going to be in this bundle and what will it be comprised of and how much, how big a packaging do I need for this thing? And I think one of the examples I gave was slippers, like a slipper set for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about my products, I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to sell slippers, are they going to be fuzzy slippers? Are they not going to be fuzzy slippers? Like, then I'm going to get a nail kit and all that other stuff to go with it, a pumice stone and gel and whatever else I'm going to put in that kit. What is all of the pieces? Where can I go get them and see how I can potentially put this together? Figure out what my estimated shipping is going to be. Pick up some house shoes, flip them over on the back side, see who the manufacturer or distributor is. So maybe I can go and find, some suppliers in the US or, where they have a big supply of stuff. The other thing I like to do is I like to cheat. So when I say cheat, the time of year in which you can find a boatload of bundles is Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally,
You reverse bundle.
I reverse bundle all day long. I will go and I will take a boatload of pictures so I can figure out what types of concepts of bundles I'm going to make. And if I'm doing a slipper bundle, I know that my slipper bundle, of course, is going to sell Christmas because bundles are everywhere. When you walk into Walmart, that's all you see is all these kits, everything from hair and nail and makeup and whatever else, even tools. And like, that's when they showcase all the kits, all the bundles. All the sets, whether you call them kits, sets, bundles, whatever they are. It's more than one item, okay? And then, so I'll reverse source and come up with my own version of that product. And then once I've decided that this is it and I've tested it, I'll maybe test the slippers, 2 different types of slippers. Oh, the fuzzy sell better than this kind. So I'm going to go ahead and find a supplier for the fuzzy, find all the stuff that I'm going to put in with that slipper set. So I have it ready to go for Christmas, next year.
You can also do virtual bundle.
Yes, you can. On Amazon for sure.
Well, what we do at FBN Fulfillment is you can have, A slippers, B slippers, C slippers, and stone. You can have all the items being sold individually.
Right.
You create a kit or a bill and you give it its own item number.
Correct.
So when the order comes through, Then we go out and pick the correct slippers with the correct this, with the correct that. We put it together and put it in the bag and ship it. So you don't really have to inventory the physical bundle. You just inventory all the individuals, and then we create the bundles on the fly.
That's right. Yeah,
So
I know with the Shopify.
It keeps your inventory forecasting and all your inventory management much simpler.
Yeah, it does. I was going to say Shopify has, of course, a couple of apps where you can do virtual bundles. They make it easy for you if you have a Shopify store.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a Shopify store, then depending on which platform you're selling on, you could do the virtual bundles with Amazon for sure. Depending on the components, like you got to make sure that you're going to be profitable for sure when you're doing that. So, I know that some of them the margin's going to be razor thin. So I'll probably be like, I'm not going to sell that by itself because the margin is just so razor thin that I may not even make any money at all. But when I combine it with something else, now I have a much bigger, because people are seeing that there's a value here with these things combined together. So you have to figure out what strategy is going to work for you based on what you do.
But what I'm talking about is doing it at the 3PL level, which it doesn't matter what platform you're using, because you do it all on the back end. And then you may have a pumice stone that has like zero margin, but you may have the pumice stone in 6 different bundles.
Yep.
You always have it in stock because you just have one box of pumice stones.
There you go.
No matter what bundle you're selling, you've got pumice stones. You don't have to steal from pumice stones from bundle A and put it in B so you can get bundle B out the door.
Right. You just order your pumice stones in bulk, and then maybe get better margins.
You just manage your inventory at the raw SKU level. Yeah. And let the market dictate the bundle. So just an idea.
That is an excellent way to do it, guys. That's an excellent way to do it. Well, if you do have a question, we do encourage you to type your questions in the comments section. We are going to get ready to say goodbye. I am so glad, John, that you were here. Thank you, Megala, for being here earlier. And we do have a giveaway tonight at 9:00. We have another giveaway tomorrow night at 9:00. So I think tonight we're giving away an all-access pass and the e-commerce planner. So there's still time for you to go sign up for those if you want to. And John, I am so glad that we met. We will definitely be talking more behind the scenes. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time.
And let's have some. Make sure that your e-commerce experience is a fun one.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
And there you go. We do want to make sure you enjoy it. So if you guys are looking this year to transition to a fulfillment center, this is your opportunity. Check out FBM Fulfillment for sure. John will definitely work with you. He'll support you. He'll help you. If you're new to that and you're apprehensive because you like control, you like to be able to see your inventory, and you like to be able to put it in the box yourself and ship it yourself, and you having a hard time releasing that control, talk to John. I'm confident that he can help you with that journey so you can free up your time to focus on things that are going to make you more money.
And those of you who have the all access pass, I did a 40-minute presentation on 3PLs. So, I invite you to check that out. Definitely
check it out. All right. So this has been another episode of the eCom Seller Summit Masterclass on product sourcing. We are going to say goodbye for now, guys. Bye. Type your questions in the chat if you have any. Go ahead, John.
No.
All right.